Good morning, students. In today's class, I will going to discuss about the economic causes which were responsible for the French Revolution. In our last class, I explained about political, then administrative and social causes. Today we have another cause, and this cause is also greatly responsible for the outbreak of French Revolution, that is the economic causes. Mainly economic causes, when we discussing about this cause, what is the economic situation which was existed in France, and why the economic condition of France is also responsible for the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789. Here, one of the great feature of French economy before the revolution is the glaring economic inequality. And this glaring economic inequality directly and indirectly responsible for the revolution. The policy of taxation in France was defective and unfair, means there is discrimination in the policy of taxation. Taxes were collected only from the hands of unprivileged class, means only the people who were belongs to the third estate were subject to pay taxes, and the people who belongs to the first and second estate, actually the people who were belongs to the first and second estate were called as the privileged one, and they were also rich, enjoyed all status, etc. They were exempted from taxes. And on the other hand, the entire burden of tax was imposed over the third estate, and this was not tolerated by the commoners or the people of third estate. Mainly, here commoners, they were paying various taxes to the state, and they paid tithe to the church, means one kind of religious tax, that is tithes, and they also paid feudal dues to the nobles. So here entire burden of expenses was fell on the unprivileged class. And even during the famines, they had to pay taxes. There is no exemption for taxes during the time of famines. And because of all this exploitation, that is economic exploitation, the condition of the people who belongs to the third estate was miserable, means they were suffering from untold miseries. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಅಸಮಾನತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಶೋಷಣೆಯಿಂದ ಮೂರನೆಯ ವರ್ಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿದ ಜನರು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಏನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ರೀತಿಯ ಈ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ ಹೊರೆ, ತೆರಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ಪಾವತಿಸುವ ಹೊರೆ ಈ ಮೂರನೆಯ ವರ್ಗದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅದೇ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಒಂದನೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎರಡನೇ ವರ್ಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸೇರಿದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಲರ್ಜಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ನೊಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೇವೆ, ಅವರನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಪಡಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೈಲೈಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ವಿಷಯ, ಅವರು ಯಾವುದೇ ತೆರಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ಪಾವತಿಸದೆ ಐಷಾರಾಮಿ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಐಷಾರಾಮಿ ಜೀವನದ ಖರ್ಚು ಯಾರು ಭರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು? ಥರ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಸೇರಿದ ಜನರು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರು. ಥರ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಸೇರಿದ ಜನರು, ಕಾಮನರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ economic discrimination and exploitation was also responsible for the outbreak of French Revolution in 1789. So this is the economic exploitation. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಅಸಮಾನತೆ, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಒಂದೇನಿತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಇಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಯಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಹದಗೆಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಅವಾಗ ಕೂಡ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿನ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಕೇವಲ ಮೂರನೆಯ ವರ್ಗಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದನೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎರಡನೆಯ ವರ್ಗದ ಜನರು ಯಾವುದೇ ತೆರಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿದ್ಧರಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ tolerated by the third estate, and this was also one of the reason for the beginning of the French Revolution. Then after economic causes we have intellectual causes. This is another important cause responsible for the outbreak of French Revolution. That is the influence of great thinkers, writers or philosophers. That is intellectual cause. There are many great philosophers who lived in France before the outbreak of revolution. Mainly they lived around 18th century in France. These philosophers, through their writings and speeches, greatly inspired the people of France to revolt. Through their writings, they insisted the people to urge for reforms, or to overthrow the ancient regime or old regime or royal despotism. So when we discussing about these cause, that is intellectual cause, here we have some of the great intellectuals. They were Montesquieu, Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Actually there lived many philosophers or thinkers or great writers, etc. But when we discussing about these the influence of intellectuals over French Revolution, here we consider mainly the works of these Montesquieu, Voltaire, then Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Then we also have another great writer, Diderot, etc. So all these philosophers, through their works and through their writings, greatly inspired the people to revolt against the old regime. Here mainly their writings prepared the people of France mentally and morally for a revolt. And these philosophers condemned the political tyranny, social inequality and economic exploitation in France. Actually, this was the feature of France before the revolution, that is political tyranny, that is royal despotism, then social inequality, then economic exploitation. Actually, these were the features of old regime in France. That is the features of Bourbon rule. Here old regime means Bourbon rule in France. So here first I will going to discuss about Montesquieu. This Montesquieu was an eminent lawyer. He criticized the abuses of the church. He mainly targeted the abuses of the church. In his writings or in his speeches, he always criticized some of the evils which were entered and also became the main principles of the church. So here he also targeted the despotism of the state. Mainly his targets were church and state, and because of their despotism, the commoners were suffering. So that is not tolerated by Montesquieu. Here Montesquieu wrote one of the well-known work, that is The Spirit of Laws. The Spirit of Laws the well-known work written by Montesquieu. And this book analyzed the principles of government. In his book, The Principles of Laws, he analyzed the principles of government. He considered that the English government was, on the whole, the best. Means he always given the example of British government. In English government means British government, and according to Montesquieu, British government or English government was best one. And he always given the example of British government because it guaranteed personal liberty to all. In English government there is personal liberty to all citizens. Montesquieu opposed royal absolutism in France. Royal absolutism, that is the absolute power which was enjoyed by the Bourbon rulers or monarchs. And he suggested the theory of separation of powers or the doctrine of separation of powers. This is actually one of the great theory which was advocated by Montesquieu, that is separation of powers. Here, according to this theory, according to the separation of powers of Montesquieu, to prevent tyranny and absolutism, three organs of the government, they are legislative, executive and judiciary. These are called as three organs of the government. Legislature, executive and judiciary should function independently. This is the doctrine of separation of powers or theory of separation of powers which was advocated by Montesquieu. According to him, the three organs of the government, they are legislative, executive and judiciary, should function independently. And only then the liberty of the people will be safeguarded. When the organs of the government function independently, the liberty of the people should be safeguarded. Then he also argued that law must be supreme. Law must be supreme and all the people are subordinate to law. According to him, judiciary, that is law, is supreme and all people are subordinate to, all the people are subordinate to law. So this is about the contributions of Montesquieu towards French Revolution. So through these writings, he greatly inspired the people to revolt against the existing order, that is against the royal despotism and abuse of the church, or that old regime, totally called as old regime or ancient regime. Then we have another great philosopher who also influenced a lot to the people of France to organize a revolt, and he was Voltaire. Here Voltaire was another most famous philosopher, and he was also called as the man of letters, because he wrote many letters in English. So he wrote the letters on the English. He wrote letters on the English, that is in mid 18th century, in Europe. In these letters, he asked people to apply reason in every field. He asked people to apply reason in every field. In every field, apply reason. He strongly criticized the church and social inequality. Here commoners were exploited by the rulers and by the church and also by the nobles. So here is total exploitation in France by the privileged against unprivileged. This was strongly criticized by Voltaire. Then he denounced the church as an infamous thing. He always criticized or condemned the church. the abuses of the church. Then Voltaire was mainly interested in the freedom of thought. He was interested in the freedom of thought and he was not in favor of democracy. Actually, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಾಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಚಿಂತನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸರ್ಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಏನಿರಬೇಕು, ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಅವರ ಥಾಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ಅಗೇನ್ ಅಪೋಸ್ ಡೆಮೋಕ್ರಸಿ, ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಫೇವರ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೆಮೋಕ್ರಸಿ. ಡೆಮೋಕ್ರೆಟಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಲ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ಏನಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಹೋಪ್ಸ್ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. He was in favor of royal despotism, that is benevolent despotism. He was in favor of benevolent despotism. At the same time, he was not in favor of democracy. Democratic form of government annu suggest madudilla. Yaru? Voltaire never suggested democratic form of government. He suggested benevolent despotism. But in benevolent despotic rule, he given importance for, that is individual thoughts. He thought he would like to be ruled by a lion rather than by 100 rats. This is one of the famous statement and also view of Voltaire, that is he would like to be ruled by a lion rather than by 100 rats. Nodi, he would like to be ruled by a lion rather than 100 rats. ಅಂದ್ರೆ 100 ಇಲಿಗಳು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದವರು, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲಿ, ಯಾರು ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇಲ್ಲವ ಅಂತವರು ಆಡಳಿತವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ 100 ಜನರ ಅರ್ಹತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದವರ, ಯೋಗ್ಯತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದವರ ಆಡಳಿತಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಹದ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಹ ಅಂದ್ರೆ who is capable to rule or administer, that is ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಂತಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ 100 ಇಲಿಗಳ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆಗಿಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಹದ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಯಾರು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಿದ್ದ? ವಾಲ್ಟರ್. he was like to be ruled by a lion rather than 100 rats. He also insisted for reforms to improve the conditions of France. He also suggested some of the reforms to improve the conditions of France, means to improve the conditions of the people here. France means people. Then after Voltaire we have another greatest philosopher who also contributed a lot for the French Revolution. Mainly his writings, his thoughts, his views were greatly inspired the people of France to revolt against the old regime in 1789. Or French Revolution was broke out in 1789 mainly because of the influence of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was considered as one of the greatest philosopher of France, and he is also known as the father of French Revolution. See, very important, Jean-Jacques Rousseau was known as the father of French Revolution. He did not undergo formal education. He did not undergo any formal education, but he acquired knowledge and experience from a wandering life, then through various occupations and private reading. Then his one of the notable work was Social Contract. He wrote Social Contract. This is one of the greatest work or book which was written by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, that is Social Contract. This book was the most famous and influential political work in 18th century. Social Contract of Rousseau is considered as one of the greatest influential political and social work in 18th century Europe. It has been regarded as the Bible of French Revolution. Here Rousseau was called or known as the father of French Revolution. At the same time his work Social Contract is considered as the Bible of French Revolution. He told man is born free. He told man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains, or everywhere he is bound in chains. ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಹುಟ್ಟುವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರ ಒಂದು ಏನಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಏನು ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ಅಡೆತಡೆಗಳು ಅವನನ್ನು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ, ಸುತ್ತುವರಿತಾ ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ, ತಡೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತವೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಾರ್ನ್ ಫ್ರೀ, ಬಟ್ everywhere he is bound in chains. One by one ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅವನ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ಸ್ ಗಳು, ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಳು, ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಗಳು, ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಗಳು ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. Then this Rousseau proved that the government was the result of social contract. A government, any government, is a result of social contract between the people and the ruler, between the people and the ruler. ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಡೀತದೆ, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಒಪ್ಪಂದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಯಾರ ನಡುವೆ? ಜನರ ನಡುವೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ರೂಲರ್ ನಡುವೆ. ಸೊ ಅ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್. The ruler should look after the welfare of the people. Here, government as a result of social contract between the people and the ruler. So, ruler should look after the welfare of the people. He gave the three great principles or watchwords of the French Revolution. They are liberty, equality, and fraternity. Actually, these are the three gifts which were given by Rousseau to the French people. And when this French Revolution was started, these three principles became the watchwords of French Revolution or ideals of French Revolution. They were liberty, equality, and fraternity. And this is also another great contribution of Rousseau to the French people. And according to Rousseau, law is the expression of the general will. Law is the expression of general will. The king were creations of the people. King were not the representatives of the God, they were the creations of the people for the promotion of their welfare. And this is his well-known theory of social contract. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ social contract ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, kings were the creation of the people for the promotion of their welfare. So here in France, he insisted the people to revolt against the existed order because kings were failed to promote the welfare of the people, or they were neglected the people's welfare or their will, etc. So he insisted the people to urge for reforms in the form of revolts. Thus the philosophical ideas were a great source of inspiration to the people of France to organize a revolt in 1789. Mainly the works of Montesquieu, then Voltaire and Rousseau greatly inspired the people to revolt in 1789. So because of the contributions of Rousseau, here Napoleon Bonaparte rightly said the French Revolution would not have occurred. French Revolution would not have occurred if Rousseau was not born. If Rousseau was not born. This is the saying of Napoleon Bonaparte. So, apart from these great philosophers, actually here Montesquieu, Voltaire, then Rousseau, these three philosophers were great philosophers, and these philosophers through their works greatly contributed for the French Revolution. Mainly they inspired mentally and morally for the French people to organize a revolt. Apart from these philosophers, we have another philosopher, that is Diderot. He was also a man of letters, means he wrote various letters or articles, etc. And he edited Encyclopedia. He became one of the famous editor of Encyclopedia, and in this encyclopedia he condemned the privileged classes, means the various privileges which are enjoyed by the first and second estate, that is the nobles and clergy, and they enjoyed all privileges. On the other hand, they also exploited the unprivileged class. Actually, here that social and economic inequality and exploitation is also on the top on the eve of French Revolution, and to eradicate such exploitation, the people of France decided to revolt or decided to overthrow the Bourbon rule, and thus a revolution was started in the year 1789. So this is about the influence of intellectuals or philosophers or thinkers or writers over the French Revolution. This is the another cause. Next we have the influence of American War of Independence, that is I will discuss in the next class. Thank you.